KenDeep. I'm sensing a dirty reset. I'm sensing a German reset.
Drop him down. Spit that flame.
German reset. There it is.
That's me, Sachio, formerly known as KenDeep, former top player in both Strive and XRD, and I'm here to share my knowledge as a former top Haehyun player in Europe. With the announcement of the rollback update for Guilty Gear XRD Revelator 2, a lot more eyes are now on the over 5-year-old installment of GG. A lot of players who have started with Strive might want to take a look at this game for the first time, and if you're one of those who is interested in picking up Kum Haehyun, then I'll show you all the basic things you need to know to start playing this character. To not cause any confusion, I will refer to Haehyun as she/her, as the outer shell is a robot controlled by a female inside. It's Guilty Gear, baby. Haehyun at its core is an all-rounder character. While being a big body, Haehyun is by no means a slow character. She has the possibility to play a very erratic neutral game, getting high reward from hard reads. Her offense is strong, albeit equipped with some knowledge checks dependent on the matchup. While a lack of a true reversal DP might make it seem as if she would struggle in defense, in actuality she is more than capable of stealing turns and getting in reversals with her super. Her mobility allows her to suppress opponents quickly, though due to her size she has to be quite vigilant in order to avoid projectiles like Venom's Q-balls, May's Beach Ball, or even long-range normals like Axel's. Haehyun's place in the tier list has been largely debated for years, as some perceive the character as a scrub killer, while others think the character has an insane amount of reward for her flexibility. Ultimately, Kum is a capable fighter that has made top 3 at multiple international events, and thus is definitely worth a try. Let's move over to her normals. 5P is only really used in very specific combo routes and sometimes as an anti-air. The hitbox placement is nice, but Haehyun has better alternatives for anti-airs and quick pokes. 5K is a poke, useful in specific ranges. It chains into most of her normals and thus provides a lot of flexibility for block strings. Close S can be a situational anti-air for opponents right above Kum, but where it really shines is in its offense capabilities. Being +3 on block, this move makes stagger pressure much more dangerous, even more so considering how flexible you are when it comes to Gatlings. Far S is a very commonly used normal, but rarely on its own. Being -8 on block, you will always want to cancel this move one way or the other. Most commonly, you use this move in the 5K Far S Hayabusa string. 5H is the primary overhead move for Haehyun, where the first hit is a mid and the second hit is an overhead. While not getting any reward from it as is, this move proves worthwhile in combination with either Roman cancels, a tuner ball, or in danger time, as she is able to go into her high damage conversions from these. The first hit is special cancelable, which can sometimes be used for cheeky tricks. Usually you use this move for the second hit though. 5D is another overhead that can sometimes be used to catch the opponent off guard without the use of any other resources. It is plus on block, which is rare for a 5D in this game, but surprisingly more important, this move is able to erase a single hit projectile, such as Emilia trying to force her way in with a pin and an air dash. 6P, one of Haehyun's iconic moves, is an incredible anti-air and anti-air dash. Not only is the frame data on this move really good for reactive usage, but it can hit on both sides too, which reduces its risk of missing by a ton. Beyond that, 6P can also be used to counterpoke some moves that don't hit low enough. Just remember that most characters have a high diverse pool of options, so that it's not always an auto win. 6K is a move that is supposed to fake out a 5H attempt. This move is low, but it hits faster than 6H, so Fuzzy Guard is unfortunately too good to make this a strong mix-up option. Regardless, this move can help out in a pinch to reset pressure, as it is plus on block unless instant blocked. 6H is one of the riskiest moves that Haehyun has. Being a staggering -23 on block, you will die when missing this move. The reward is moderate on a normal hit as it knocks the opponent back a ton, which can be useful for corner carry, but it's not something that Haehyun needs to fulfill her game plan. However, the reward she can get with this move on the counter hit is beyond anything she can do otherwise, so there are definite points to use this. Furthermore, the really short startup of 7 frames means she can punish some moves that are otherwise hard if not impossible to punish, as she has quite the range considering how fast 6H is. 2P is an absolutely incredible normal. It is 4 frames and +1 on block, which makes this great for both defensive mesh attempts as well as stagger pressure on a higher pace. Coupled with the fact that this normal can be chained into basically any normal except for 6H and 2H, you have an absolute powerhouse of a poke that should definitely be a centerpiece of your toolkit. 2K is one of Haehyun's main tools to go for lows. Part of the reason is that it is the only normal to allow to chain into 2H, which enables a lot of her damage. However, most of the time you will only want to use this move if you can convert into 2H. If your main priority is to poke, you're better off using 2P. 2S is the typical shoulder crouching mid kick. However, Haehyun cannot really convert from it standalone into anything. This move becomes much more relevant the deeper you go into tuner ball stuff. Also ending 2S into 2D is always an option. All in all, an okay poke, but primarily used for mix-ups. 2H is a normal that can function as an anti-air. Furthermore, it's also his most common starter to launch the opponent for the Shinken loops, so use 2H whenever possible. 2D on the other hand is an amazing low kick. Great hitbox, great hurtbox, really difficult to punish for a lot of characters, strong range, and if you react fast enough, you can even get a combo. A highly undervalued tool in Haehyun's kit. You should make sure to experiment with 2D as much as possible. For her jump normals, they are all pretty much self-explanatory. Jump P is used for basic conversions, Jump S is her primary normal for instant air dashes, and Jump H is the air chain ender of your choice. Jump D can be used for tricky cross-ups, especially potent with Roman cancel. However, the least obvious one is probably her Jump K. An incredible air-to-air, this move can combo on counter hit into Air Hayabusa. Since most people do not react fast enough to mash out of her normal hit either, the risk is extremely low to go for such a conversion. In some matchups, this button is a lifesaver. Jump 2K is a little bit of a funky normal that you sometimes use to mess up which side you land on in an instant air dash, or sometimes you can even use it for jump-ins in order to get another overhead afterwards. But it's not really that much of a useful normal, so use it sparingly. On to her specials. The tuner ball is unique as it is controlled similar to a puppet character. The S version is her primary neutral tool, but is also in a handful of matchups your go-to Okizeme tool with YRC. The H version is the other way around. It is primarily used for Okizeme, but in certain matchups it is advisable to use it for neutral as well, as it contains 3 hits, which makes it a bit more resistant to counter zoning. For the Okizeme, the easiest way to handle the ball control is to cast the ball, let go of the stick or D-pad, to not steer the projectile in any way, wait for the ball to hit once, and then begin steering back as you press your first normal button. This way, you can go for a very basic mix-up quite quickly without having to think about spacings of the ball. For getting the timing right on the projectile, you want to adjust your air combo. Experiment what strings lead to a tighter timing, and use that tight timing to your advantage, so that the spacing and the accuracy is consistent for each matchup. Her Shinken is another essential part of her game. With 5 different versions, it may seem very overwhelming, but it is also what makes her incredibly freeform to play. The most important versions are her almost instant release version, her blue Shinken, and her red Shinken. These enable her damage output and are quite probably the thing to practice when it comes to combos. Unfortunately, this is something that simply has to be practiced, and there is no easy shortcut to pulling these off. But on the other hand, once you have those in, they will be super satisfying to do, and you will rarely drop these. They are simply a matter of getting used to. One extra variant that has a little bit of leeway is the Shi Shinken. In that, you pull off a delayed instant release Shinken and cancel that on hit into an immediate red Shinken charge. You have the added benefit of taking your time with the back kick input. The important part is the initial duration of the first hit Shinken. Beyond that, the other remaining Shinken versions are useful for anti-air capabilities or catching the opponent off guard with a sudden full screen low. If you're really cheeky, you can cancel your 5H into a Beyblade, though I wouldn't recommend going for that a lot. The remaining special is the Hayabusa. First, the easy one, the jumping version. It allows you to change your air trajectory and speed, so it forces your opponent to be a bit more proactive and guess your travel path. You also generally want to cancel your instant air dash, jump S, jump H, into air Hayabusa if it was blocked. as a good player will punish you consistently for going for it. The ground versions are a lot more complicated, but the gist of it is, they are your mid-ranged stagger pressure. The blue version can be unsafe if the opponent knows what they're doing, but in most ranges they will not be able to get a punish in. Meanwhile, the red version is plus on block, but takes a significant amount of time to charge, so it can be interrupted. So essentially, the more obvious you are with your approaches, the weaker the Hayabusa becomes. On the other side, if you become less predictable, Hayabusa can be an incredibly versatile tool that helps you putting pressure on your opponent from neutral. Learn your ranges and timings, and make sure to understand the risks that you take from each Hayabusa. Lastly, the two supers. Ball Super is a tool that makes it very difficult for your opponent to play neutral properly, but applies a lot of additional strain on you too, as it can be incredibly draining to control both Haehyun and the ball independently. There are also some unblockable setups possible with the Super Ball, but they are a choice, not a necessity. Clap Super is your go-to reversal. You are able to control the opponent freely while they are inside the ring. You have infinite guard points for as long as you can charge it, which has a maximum duration. However, supers and throws can beat the Clap Super, so make sure to keep that in mind. Lastly, you can use the super to convert stray hits into a more ideal knockdown. By moving the opponent to the backside of you, they will be close enough to get a follow-up after the hit. And that's a complete move list for Haehyun. All in all, Haehyun is definitely a tricky character to pick up. And while it is quite easy to be annoying with her, it's equally trivial to counter these approaches. Once you have surpassed the executional hurdle, a lot of the growth you will see with this character is primarily knowledge, consistency, and adaptations. Her BMVs are already hard, but they do not become harder on higher level. Much rather, it becomes harder to get to these situations in the first place, and you will have to use the diverse toolkit of her in order to bait, hard read, and majorly punish attempts made by the opponent. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.